We have a 2001 Oldsmobile Alero. In order to check fuel pressure on this particular vehicle, since there's no Schrader port, we will have to open the system up and actually insert our gauge in line. We will remove the fuel pump relay and crank the engine over to bleed pressure. Now that pressure is bled, we will raise the vehicle up and install our fuel pressure gauge. The easiest access to check fuel pressure on this particular vehicle is actually at the fuel filter. We will open the line up at the fuel filter. Be sure and always take a rag because there may be some residual fuel left in the line. Remember that you are working with gasoline. You always need to be sure and try to catch any leaks or drips that you may have in an approved container. After installing the pressure gauge, reinstalling the fuel pump relay, and starting the engine, we've determined that the check valve in the fuel pump is faulty. We will first have to bleed the system and then remove the pressure gauge. Now we need to remove the emissions lines off the carbon canister. We will also remove the fuel filler hose and disconnect the electrical connector. This particular electrical connection has a safety retainer. Be sure and remove it before trying to remove the electrical connector. We need to remove a retainer that holds the heat shield to the tank strap. Now we will remove the tank straps and lower the tank. Now that we've lowered the tank down slightly, we can gain access to the return line. Again, remember there may be some residual fuel in here. Be sure and try to capture it. Now that we've got the tank out from underneath the vehicle, we need to be sure and clean the top of the tank to keep any debris from getting in the tank as we remove the pump. First things we'll do is unhook the electrical connector. This is a 3-wire connector here. This is for your fuel tank pressure sensor. Then we have a 4-wire connector here. This is for the fuel pump and the sending unit. Now we'll take a non-ferrous punch and turn the locking ring counterclockwise. We'll also remove the fuel lines from this retainer, and we will have to remove the emissions line. Your new Airtex pump will come with your pressure line and your return line already attached to the module assembly. You'll notice that this pump has a reservoir. We need to capture the fuel that's in that reservoir and dispose of properly. We will have to reuse the tank locking ring. At this point, we'll remove it from the pump module. At this point, we need to drain the remaining fuel into a safe container and then clean the inside of the tank. We want to be sure that the tank is as clean as possible to allow a clean environment for the fuel pump. Now that we've properly cleaned the tank inside, we're ready to install our new Airtex fuel pump. There are 2 tank seals supplied with this particular fuel pump module. Make sure and match the correct seal for your application. Always note the tank lock ring and make sure that we have no excessive rust and it's not warped or bent in any way. On this tank locking ring, there is a ridge on one side of it and not on the other. This ridge goes up. The side without the ridge goes towards the pump module. These locating tabs will be positioned between the retaining clips on top of the tank. Now that we've got our lock ring started under the retaining clips, we'll take our non-ferrous punch again and turn it clockwise to lock it into place. Reinstall the emissions line. Make sure we hear the audible click. Install the fuel line into the holder. We'll reconnect our electrical connections. With the new Airtex fuel pump module in the tank, we will reinstall the tank into the vehicle. Reinstall the tank straps. To reinstall the heat shield and the retaining pin. Reinstall the emissions line. Reinstall the electrical connector. Be sure and install the locking retainer. Put the filler hose on and tighten the clamp. In the end of the return line is a plug that you will remove. Once it's removed, then we can install the line onto the fitting. We need to push the retainer down and then fold over the locking tab until until it clicks into position. Reinstall our pressure gauge. We will now reinstall the fuel pump relay, reattach the negative battery cable, cycle the key a few times to recharge the system and start the vehicle. And note fuel pressure to assure it meets vehicle specs. Bleed the fuel pressure and remove the pressure gauge.
Remove the old retainer clip. The new Airtex pump comes with a new style fitting.
Reinstall the pressure line onto the fuel filter. Now we will cycle the key a few times to charge the system. And we'll start the vehicle.